Right, hi everyone. I hope everybody's well and preparing well his Christmas gifts, self-gifts, family gathering, holidays, whatever you call it. As always, sometimes some people leave it for the last minute to pick their gifts because they didn't have time, working all day, etc. Sometimes they still have some options online to be delivered quicker, so I picked up also some options including that, but mostly it's things you can find in shops, hopefully. Now that said, I cannot guarantee you you will find every single one of my tips in the place you are, so please don't blame me if you don't find them, but at least you have several options, and I have a lot of things to advise you. So without further ado and without any other introduction, I am Greg's Whiskey Guide, except this. I am Grégoire from France, Paris, tasting whiskey and other spirits for over 20 years now. More recently, I will say the last 7 to 10 last years, digging a bit more into some other spirits, and even I'm learning every day. There are still some spirits I don't know at all, or I don't know a lot about, but I'm trying, and I will share with you my experience. So, how does it work? I might pause sometimes, even if the preparation for this was a bit epic. There are some bottles I couldn't find on time, and if I took all the things outside their box and the shelves and else, I cannot even walk. So I couldn't plan this yesterday, that's what I mean. Anyway, I have I still have a plan of what I have to do. There will be, and apologies, a few words in French at some point, and you see I forgot one, so we'll have to pause. Yeah, okay, it's almost the same category, but I forgot to put it on the table, so give me just a minute, bear with me. Okay, thank you. And again, I'm not saying this enough often compared to others, and maybe that's why I see a difference. If you like this video, please click the like button. It helps to be referenced in Google and in YouTube. Otherwise it will be drowned into other videos. Same, if you want to be aware of the next one, please click the notification bell. You know all that jazz, right? If you're someone that's coming often here. Okay, so I have 7, let's say 8 options of ideas for Christmas gifts that are not exactly whiskey, but whiskey related. And there are, after that I will advise you a few whiskies and other spirits as gifts, potential gifts. Also take into account, at a certain extent, the budget, the money question. Right. Now, I also have some honorable mentions of things I won't advise you, or advise you with a lot of reservation, because it might be a problem in time. For instance, decanters, glass decanters. There are some awesome out there. I have a few ones. There is one I used that was very good from Italian glassware company that I used for my Karizawa when I realized my cork was broken too easily and was a bad, poor quality for such a high-end whiskey. I had to repackage it into reconditionner in French, into a decanter, and then when it was down, into another glass bottle. Decanters can have a lot of leaking. How do I know that? Because I had a problem with a home blend of mine, and I didn't understood why the taste was changing so much despite the usual variations, marriage times, etc. I won't go too much in that. And at some point I just did this. I just switched put the bottle on the other side, and it started to leak. So that's how I knew. So be very, very careful if you choose this option. I am not super enthusiastic about it, even if it looks great. Okay, so this is the kind of things I won't advise. Now, on what I advise, really, let's start by this. In no particular order, Whisky Books. Whisky books that are not expensive, less than it's 14.95 pounds, 20 euros. So this is mandatory if you like whiskey, if you're curious about whiskey, you want to know about new bottlings, a short story of the distillery, the versions. You still want to know also about what's whiskey regulation. For instance, this year, every year, the Malt Whiskey Yearbook changes about the general topics that are prior to the distillery's presentation, and then a few other pages about indie bottlers and other topics. For instance, for 2022, Japanese whiskey rules are not quite absolutely on point. Where do we have things about blending? This is right up my alley, as you know it now. Back to the future. The forecast for future sales of whiskey has become a science for the big companies. Then you have world whiskies, so countries that might be, if you're new to whiskey, you might not think they do exist as producing whiskey. Hungary and Iceland, and of course Ireland on the other side. France, but we will come to it. Independent bottlers, like I said, and a few economical pages as well at the end, as usual. Okay, won't go too much into this. From time to time, I will go on the French language. This is, I believe this must exist in English. I hope so. Martin Nouet, our most famous whiskey writer in France, who lives in Islay, did write this absolutely important whiskey guide a few years ago, and it is updated on a regular basis. Voilà, je recommande chaudement ce guide de Martin Nouet. Voilà, plus de 500 whiskies du monde commentés et notés, 80 coups de cœur. Et surtout, je crois, plus de 150... Ouais. Il me semble qu'il y a dans les 300, là c'est 25 euros, 25 euros, 300 whiskies with some food pairing tips. This is very rare. So many references. Voilà, pour marier vos whiskies avec des plats. This is a French edition, but it's Whiskies of the World in Prisma Publisher. Ça c'est super, c'est vraiment très utile. I often recommend it. These are the glasses that you can use for whiskey, or where used. You have, of course, you have the whiskies that are shortly reviewed and the history of them explained. But you have also some very interesting things about the process, production, Lafroig, for instance. Now, if you want to know more about my whiskey book tips or recommendations, I have a specific, I will put a link below, I have a specific big video about whiskey books, so I will just stop with the World Whiskey Atlas from Dave Broom, my friend Dave Broom. Really recommend as well. This is not the most recent edition, but there are a lot of infos there. And once again, it's the first and only book I know which and it's for me very interesting, but it's might not be for everyone. This is a bit more high-end book. This is the only book I know who also reviews the distillate, the new make of each Scottish distillery, which is absolutely crazy. Very interesting for me to understand how the whiskey is before the maturation. Okay, 10 minutes already, we're good. Whiskey glasses, I have a specific video about it, so I won't be super long. I note just that I have to put video link. Oh, before I stop, sorry, Whisky Books. Et là, ça va être un peu plus pour les Français, désolé. A bit more for the French, because they're French references, and I don't know if they're in English too. It's comic books. Comic books. I already talked about this one, Les Fondus de Whisky, très intéressant. Donc une BD sur le whisky, avec à la fin des pages intéressantes sur la technique. Also some technical pages made by Etienne Bouillon, Master Distiller of Belgium, which I forgot to put on the table, but I can advise you also as a good whiskey. So this is in French. I'm not sure it's in other languages. Voilà. There's also this one, which is another collective édition, les Arènes BD. Cette fois, l'autre, c'était les Bambous éditions. It's more a high-end topic about a kind of special journey searching for the best whiskies of the world. It's a crazy idea of a book, I have to say, very entertaining. Whisky, tout simplement. Ça s'appelle Whisky par Carrier de Lalande et Douai aux éditions Arène BD. There you have it for Whisky Books. Where are we? Okay, something completely different. Yes, not so different. Okay, this is mixed. I'm gonna switch to another topic, second topic, but it's related to the first one. Whiskey notebooks and whiskey boxes with glasses. Par exemple, ça, bah, tant pis, il y a la marque. I found this very cheap in a general store about furniture and decoration, internal house decoration. This had 4 glasses like this, which is almost a Glencairn, but not Glencairn. So you have often these kind of things on offer, and there's also a very cheap, but okay, cool. Appearance, aroma, body, taste, finish, overall rating. Whiskey number 1, whiskey number 2, etc. It can be cool if you go into a festival with some crayons. It's quite cheap, but I think it's a good idea. I'm gonna put that. I'm really missing. I need some more space. The glass, I'm gonna put it there. So you can offer whiskey glasses. A set of whiskey glasses is a really cool, I think, gift idea. This, I'm afraid, is sold out, but it happens from time to time, and I saw it with a whiskey I'm gonna show you in a minute, even if I didn't bought it. Sometimes this is a Nika pure malt red. This is almost a collector's item. This is so beautiful. With great whiskey, Nika Pure Malt Red. This is a bit of history now, I'm sorry. But what I wanted to show you is this. Let me put that down. In this very nice packaging, you have, okay, it's a bit tight, so you have a nice notebook with also a pen, a branded pen. These kind of things are really cool when you go into whiskey festivals. Right, I'm gonna put this down. Ooh. So yeah, if you see offers with notebooks, things, you can also buy notebooks which are not branded, whiskey branded, but are kind of luxury with the pen, a room for the pen. This can be very useful if you go into a whiskey tasting. Another thing which you can find online, even if this is a bit a special thing, this is a distillery offer. You have to go to the distillery, and I went there in 2018, and you can, this is so nicely made. I mean, this kind of little box for a little whiskey. And what is that? It's another, I think, very nice gift to do. Look at this. Look at this. This is, there's a hole there, and another one there, of course. And you will put this into water, choose some mineral or demineralize if you can, or very neutral quality water. You put that inside, you put your hand there, and when you want to put some water in your whiskey, you release it just for a second, the time you want to release the water you want. This is quite fragile, so you have to be careful. This is not something I use myself every day, but I think this could be a very nice gift. There are a few brands, I don't want to quote anyone, but there are a few brands that do that on a regular basis. You can find online that do that. I think it could be a nice idea. I'm gonna put that. Okay, let me get some water. No tasting today because I have a lot of, on cam, because I have a lot of things to show you. Okay, where are we at? Okay, number 4 tip. I have 7 tips and then 40 bottles to advise you, so I better be quick. Number 4 tips, which okay, let's not argue or anything of the context, which is awful, especially since yesterday for us French, but okay, I said I won't speak about that. Buy distillery visit vouchers or tickets for your friends. Why not? So surprise them with a distillery visit with for distillery that are open to the audience, etc. Of course, surprise them with distillery visit voucher with, for instance, the full Monty, the full package. And that means cask warehouse tastings, special bottle offer or bottle your own offer included. It could be absolutely amazing. Contact the distillery if it's not obvious they have this gift option. Email them and ask them if you can do that. Another option is to buy a personalized bottle. There are several, don't want to name them all, but I think Whisky Exchange or Master of Malt or others, they do that. They personalize a bottle, so in your label you can have a few lines, and this is whiskey. This is, for instance, this is Grégoire's whiskey, Greg's Whiskey Guide whiskey, or this is the Greg's Whiskey Guide Club whiskey, number 1 or number 2 or 2022, or this happy birthday or happy Christmas or whatever. You get the picture. Last tip before going into the bottles gift ideas, something people don't think often. Okay, it could take time, especially this period of the year. Might be too late for Christmas, I reckon, but it could be a gift for that you can give, for instance, for the new year. So the people have, let me show you. So the people can have a calendar. There are a few companies out there. I won't call a French one starting by a V that I use every year. What is this? I did pick some pictures, 12 and 1 for the cover, so 13 pictures of my own pictures, or of pictures I've seen on internet but are free of rights. If you do that for yourself, you don't sell this, you don't give this to anyone without permission, it's just for you, you see. So this is a picture of mine I made in Inverness. So in this 2021 calendar, you see there are the months there, and you can also pre-print the events you want to be highlighted. In this one I choose some set of pictures that I mix from other people and mine. So this is my for instance, I forgot them, so it's another tip. In fact, Westland Single Malt from Seattle, Washington State, United States of America. This triad of whiskies, it's a bit expensive to offer, but could be a beautiful idea also as a gift. In this calendar, for instance, I also put these kind of beautiful, because they look great. Very okay, it's a bit more nerdy, but it's the Elements of Isle selection. I have also this rare thing, it's also my picture. Can I show you? There are pictures I found on internet of Edinburgh and the Calton Hill, or I like flowers, so you can see this as well. This is, I believe, and I wanted to pay homage to him, but I was limited in space and in size of the picture, so I was a bit annoyed, to Graham Fraser from the whiskey community, who does beautiful pictures. This is one of the amazing bridges of Edinburgh. Also, what do we have here? My part of my Springbank collection. It's something you can be nice. Some seasonal, at least for last month. This I haven't been made. I didn't made it myself. So autumn leaves, stuff like that. So I think this could be a good idea. You can also put your relatives in there, a picture of your relatives. Pictures of events you went to, and you want to have a souvenir of it. So there you have it. Basically, here are my ideas for Christmas and the holiday season gifts or self-gifts. Now on to whiskies. This is not going to be a summarize of the year or of all my videos. I can't. But I'm gonna try to do it as fast and as understandable as I can. So again, I have to conform to the plan. Starting by, excuse me, cheap option in Scotch whiskies. You don't have a lot of budget. You're invited to a party. You just want to offer a basic but not so basic and good references. Scotch blended whiskies. Why not choose that? You know these: Ballantines, Johnny Walker Black, both 12 years old, both pretty decent in my opinion. Now, if you want a more high-end option on things you still can find, this is a 50 cl version, but the Great King Street, for instance, from Compass Box, can also work. What else do we have? Blended malt category. This is one of my highlights of the year. Orchid House from Compass Box. Very fruity, very subtle. Not a fruit bomb, but a fruit treat, which is different, all in subtlety. Why do I show this? Also, I'm not gonna do a Whiskey of the Year video 2021 because I haven't been to any festival or masterclass or things like that. For reasons some of you know, and for the others, this is not the right place to say it, but you can understand. I don't agree with things that are going on now and are gonna be worse even next year, but it's life. But this could have been in there, for instance, because I think it's beautiful. Voila, you know it. Douglas Lang Remarkable Regional Malts, once again, could be a super idea. They have minis set to, it could be another number 8 tip. They have a set of minis to discover each area of Scotland, so why not pick something like that? Now we're still in Scotland and single malts. Let's put some in the table and I explain you why I picked them. Will be less a surprise, I know, but Glenmorangie X, another winner of the year on the very modest category of value-wise. It's not a masterpiece. It will not blow your mind. Be careful. I didn't say that. I did a video about that. I just said it was a good value. It is made for mixing, and you have recipes there, so it can be a nice option to offer this. You also not necessarily on a personal gift, but you're coming to a party, you're invited, like Antonio said it recently. Bring this. It will not cost you an arm and a leg. 25 euros here in France, sometimes even less on offer. It will do the job. Neat, with beautiful fruit and floral notes, or on ice and mixing as you wish. Okay, I gotta put them back. Another unpeated option on the a bit experimental but maybe pleasing to people who like beer, the Glenfiddich core range, almost core range IPA experiment series number 1, still on sale, 43% ABV. It's interesting. It's an India Pale Ale cask finish. I don't like usually IPAs, beers, but I like this finish. Go figure why. It's efficient, elegant, and I think nicely made. Another non-peated option, Glenronach 12. This is a new, more recent bottle. I haven't opened it yet. Very fruity, probably more spicy than before, probably less old stuff in there, but still a decent value. I recommend. Now this is how I went into peat positively. A long time ago, 20 years ago exactly, I discovered this in the United States. Okay, it's a long story, and I fell in love with it. It's still a sure value, whatever you can say about it, and color, etc. It is still a beautiful, moderately peated, smoky, elegant whiskey. I really recommend. Goes well. Another peated option, and also an aesthetic option as a gift, is anything, almost anything from Kilchoman. Look at this bottle, it's so beautiful. Well, the Celtic wheel here, Celtic sign, and also this is the old version of the Sun Egg. It's clearer, it's 50-50 on bourbon and sherry composition. Now it's 70-30, so there's more sherry than bourbon. I haven't tried the recent option, so it's this engraved here. A lot of things, so beautiful cork as well. The box is nice too. This is the old one. So I think this is a beautiful option of a gift, really. And when I will say it later on for something else, when the container, the content matches the container, I think it can be a winner. Right. Now we're on to world whiskies. Big category before a few others. World whiskies, I have to go quick because I did already videos about world whiskies. I will start, of course, by French, with my favorite distillery. I'm sorry if you heard that before, Glenarmor from Brittany. Everything traditional, even more traditional than some Scottish distilleries. Already talked about them, so I will be short. This is a non-peated version, and this is It becomes cornog when it is peated, but this one has also something special on the cask and the age, but it's another story. Those are maybe difficult to find, 70 to 19 euros depending on what is there. It's a small batch, so if you don't find this, you can also pick some Armoric whiskey. You can also pick this for 35 euros. This is quite well distributed even in the UK. I don't know. I know they have a US distributor too. So it's a Warengem distillery that does the Armoric single malt, and they do Braise whiskey, which is 65% malt, 35% grain. So very interesting for me. If you want to try something special, and I'm sorry it's the old packaging because it's not cheap, so I'm not going to buy it often. It's the gold from La Distillerie des Menhirs. Edu is the brand, and it's buckwheat whiskey. Du blé noir, du whisky à base de blé noir ou sarrasin. C'est un 10 years old at least, donc plus 10 ans ou plus, 43%. Voilà, beaucoup de miel et de pommes, lots of apples and honey. What else? We said French. Now you can also, I talked, but sorry, I don't have the bottle. You can surprise your friends with when offering them a Belgian whiskey, Belgian Old, for instance. You can also surprise them by offering them a German whiskey. This is well distributed in France, for instance. This is the Oloroso Fass. Fass means cask. Finish, the heavy bottle. It's as beautiful as the Kilchoman and as decorated, engraved, call it how you want. So it's a beautiful gift, I think, as well. Super heavy, my God. Now, a big category for me, and I did focus a bit more on this category because people don't know it much still now. I have still question of what is genuine and not genuine Japanese whiskey, and I think I can have a bit my say about it. I will present you first options that are not 100% Japanese. Why? Because I think they're very good. And the non-Japanese whiskies these guys put there are still high quality Scotch whiskey. For instance, this, which is mimicking French cognac decanter, is from Nikka. It's the rare old super Nikka, if you like, 45% ABV. This has a lot of Ben Nevis in there, but believe me or not, it is very good, very tasty. 45 euros, something like that. I really recommend it. From another distillery, the White Oak Distillery. This was a blended whiskey. This is still a blended whiskey, but 50 cl. From the White Oak Distillery, so there's some White Oak single malt in there, but there are other distilleries as well. It's the Akashi Meisei. It has a slight more sherry cask in it than the White Label, but it has less than another one that I bought recently and haven't tried yet, which is the sherry cask finish. They all come in 50 cl. Still in Japan, if you want an option, those are 30. This is 30 euros, where the Nikka, Super Nikka was 45. 40 euros also, 50 cl. You have, of course, the most successful bestseller in France, Japanese whiskey. It's the Nikka from the barrel. You know it, so I won't show you. Concurrent Suntory's the concurrent of Nikka. Concurrency options, you have several ones, and yes, before you ask, I don't recommend the Nikka Days. For me, it's disappointing compared to what they did before, and even those two. But I recommend the Suntory Toki. I've tried several times. I didn't open nor review this, but I will do when I can. I promise. Otherwise, go see my friend Mac from Kampai Planet, who does awesome Japanese whiskey reviews. Tip. What else in Japanese territory? Yeah, of course, you know, yeah, you can If you had €100, so it's, and might be more in other countries, and I'm sorry I don't have it. I have an old version, 12 years old, which is now very expensive. Suntory Hibiki, of course, it's a perfect whiskey gift with a beautiful decanter, you know that. It's not on the table, I'm sorry. But in the single malt territory, I'm sorry, I will still bother you with those two options, which for me are beautiful. Even if there are no age statement, they're a bit pricey, €75 there. Miyagi-Kyo and Yoichi, the two malt distilleries from the Nikka group. I love them both. I will review them soon as well. This was for Japan. I think I didn't forgot any. Oh, I forgot two options for France. I apologize. Damned. The timestamps are going to be difficult. If you have time to search for more difficult to find versions, more demanding and a bit more expensive, but really worth chasing and buying, you can go to buy two indie bottling companies products that are based on the Hep distillery in Alsace. Two great options. This one is from Émeric Robrel de Climens. It was one of my whiskey of the year last year. This one is the Cabernet Franc. There's a new version of this. This is the old one. Available now, and you have the collaboration between Émeric Robrel de Climens and La Maison Munich with Assemblage. This is the first one. This is beautiful as well, but you can find now there are two others that are, I think, online. This is floral, super fruity, very generous, very balanced. Those two are really a craft. Very demanding, beautiful work. It's a lot of things to say about this. I will review them in French. Okay. Few other world options very quickly. For instance, where is it? It is here. Oh, one of my favorite whiskies of my collection. I talked about this before. You know that if you like old style French, Scottish style whiskies, and you don't have the budget to buy you a Macallan, the Macallan distillery, 20 years old, 18 years old, something very sherried, old style sherry, etc. You don't have this money, but you still have around €90. The best thing you can do, in my opinion, of course, you can go into the independent bottlers territory. Of course, this is the biggest tip. If you want something old, if you want something special, and you don't have the money for the official version, which are often expensive, go to the independent bottlers, of course. But otherwise, if you want to surprise your friends, relatives that are passionate about whiskey, not the beginners, because you don't want this to be mixed with Coke or anything, or ice, or on ice. There are sherry bomb lovers. Go and pick them for them. Look at this. This is the sherry oak matured 46% expression from Kavalan, the Taiwanese distillery. And believe me or not, it is core range. And for me, it beats every Macallan around nowadays under a couple of €100. I haven't tried the more high-end ones, but I won't bet they can beat this. Right? Just saying. On to now Northern America options. I'm gonna repeat myself again. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for, even if I'm not in bourbon category, unblended American whiskey from Michter's offers a very complex, refined, subtle experience. It's bottled at 41.7. There's also the sour mash version that I like a lot. I prefer those two, I have to warn you, to the bourbon no age statement, U.S.A range as well, and to the straight rye as well. For me, they're more complex, more interesting. I forgot a Japanese option. Just of course, in the American territory there was no room, there was too many things. You can go for roses, single barrel. You can go for Buffalo Trace options. Blantons get very expensive now, so I don't know. You can go to Smooth Ambler, MGP stuff. Sometimes it's really great. There's a lot of options, but not so much options in France compared to what I see on other channels, especially American channels and Canadian channels. Gentleman Jack, I think it's okay from Jack Daniels. It's smooth. You won't spend a lot of money. Of course, the single barrel cask strength, barrel strength from Jack Daniels. Some can be very harsh, too much alcoholic and tannic. Some are absolutely stunning. One of these was my Whiskey of the Year top 5 a few years ago. You can also surprise completely your audience with something that is crossing territory from Scotch to bourbon, and I already talked about that, but I don't see it often covered. It's the straight malt from Woodford Reserve. I think it's very interesting to mix corn to malted barley, and don't do a Scotch blend, but do something that's different. It's bottled at 45.2. It is one of my favorite Woodford Reserve and American whiskey as well. I don't have much options on the table. And about Canadian whiskey, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of choice in terms of consistency and availability. So even if I had to advise you a lot of options in Canadian whiskey, there's only one I will pick for you because it's obvious for cocktail, but it will be a pity not to try it neat. Of course, it's the regular core range, lot 40 at 43%, 100% rye whiskey, a pure treat. It's unbeatable in its category, I believe. Are we finished with whiskey? Yes. So now it becomes a bit more difficult for some. I will start by something that's aged in oak as well, distilled only once instead of twice usually in whiskey. And it's also made after wine as cognac. Of course, I'm going to start by Armagnac. And another thing that can be interesting is to offer a vintage Armagnac. So when you have, for instance, this comes 50 cl. This might have some additives, not necessarily my favorite brand. But it's interesting as a gift. Chateau de l'Aubade. So this one is an 18 years old, 1990. I have this for quite a while. It comes with a wooden box, so it's perfect for a gift. Oops. There you have it. You have also the references there, so it's 40% as often, but it can be an affordable option. Why do I say affordable? Because when you get down to years like 1980 or 1970 or even less, I mean older, it can be, you can still get something from 200 euros or a bit more. While if you go to check something about Scotch whiskey at 30, 40 years old or more, you're gonna spend 1,000 euros now, most probably. So it's a cheaper option to have a big spirit experience aged in oak, I believe. Of course, anything from Darros, I'm sorry, I have to. It's an old 2013 bottling, I think. It's one of my all-time favorite Armagnac Domaine de Bertruc. 48%, no additives. 23 years old only, if I may say, but it's absolutely a killer. and it can rival with 30-40 years old whiskies, in my opinion. I have other Armagnacs, but this is all I can say quickly. Cognac is distilled from wine, but it's distilled twice. Cheap option, 20-30 euros. Camus VSOP Cognac, intensely aromatic. It's only a few years old, but it's a nice, it's not uncomplicated cognac. If you want something more fancy for a gift and more traditional and heavy, beautiful gift can be this Ragno Sabourin number 25 XO. Why number 25? Because it's a 25 years old, if I remember well. Let me just check. I always have a doubt, so I'm sorry to lose. Ragno Sabourin, yeah, 25 years old. This is a 2019 decanter bottle. I cannot speak about cognac if I don't recommend two brands. I'm not paid by them, but I visited them and I tasted a lot of things from them. First, this targeted towards whiskey lovers, hence the 46% ABV. Yes, no additives. Yes, Valentersigné. Quite unusual one compared to the previous I showed, so more herbal, spicy, and the fruits are just a bit subdued in this one, but it's still a very good one. You can still have your orange, apricot, peaches combo. Now, of course, if you have more money, forget about this one, because it's very special, and it's one I blended myself for a special blend we did together with the indie bottler, producer, and négociant éleveur, which means he marries and he makes the cognac mature. He gets mature in his warehouses, so he does a blending work. Of course, it's Guilhem Gros Perrin, Grand Champagne. This is super pricey now, but this was not 55.4 ABV. It's a stunner. Usually you have, because all these have their years of bottling and years of aging guaranteed by a certificate. Usually when it's 100% guaranteed, they have all sourced to find out where it comes from, etc. You have the full vintage year. So we'll see a lot of Gros Perrin, 1990, 1992, etc. But when you see the numbers splitted and just the two last numbers, it's because they cannot guarantee you the age. But when you speak with the producer, with Guilhem Gros Perrin, and when you do your searches and when you taste, you find out that they're most probably what it's mentioned there. So this is a 41 years old, yes, from 1972. I tasted way older stuff there, I have to say. There's a full report on my website about those two, Gros Perrin and Valentersigné. Did I finish with this category? Yes. And I realized I forgot something that was there right from the start. I'm sorry. And this was Whiskey Samples box, and this is my favorite, that you can find also where you can find those glasses before. Donc vous pouvez les trouver, je vais le dire chez Casa, tant pis, je vais pas faire de pub. So these are coming into several sizes. If I can show them to the camera. And even bigger. I have 4, 5, 6 of them because I love them. It's made of bamboo mainly. There's a strap so you can, and when you open, what do you have? You have these 5 seal. This one comes from a French indie bottler. There's a mini, so you can see 5 seal the size. This is a rum mini, but you can also put those here. This comes from Compass Box. This is the Felicitas, I mean from the company, from John. So these fits in there, smaller ones fits in there, also some old rare branded minis. Whoops, too glossy. An old 15 years old Glenlivet, Gordon MacPhail, galore. Whoops, sorry. So these are very practical, and as it has some protection inside, you won't really move too much if you do your things well. In the bigger one, you can put 10 seal samples, and Scotch 25, not so bad. These are professional samples, by the way. These 10 seal used by blenders. You can put also long mezcal bottles, minis. You can put also things that might not fit everywhere. Those beautiful minis of Glenrothes. In the bigger ones, I have a bigger one that I used to store the samples. I used the bottles, and I use for my whiskey. After being at the distillery, I already talked about that. So, and yes, they could be an offering option, but availability is difficult now. It's just starting to be. Okay, let's move. Excuse me. Another long video, I'm afraid. As much I'm trying. Rum. I will be super quick with rum. There's white rum, there's molasses rum, there's pure cane rum. I'm not gonna go very far because I'm gonna do several. I have to tell you, in 2022 I'm gonna do several other spirits rundown and live shows, probably, if I can find the I know the names, but if I can get those people on board on live show. Cheap option, vive la France. French agricole rum, HSE Habitation Saint-Étienne, Île de la Martinique, from the French Isles. The ragtime. This is an easy sipper, mixer, etc. Anything you want, 40%. Few years in cask, I believe. It's okay. Vanilla, oak, baking spice and that stuff. It works well. 25 euros maybe, so quite cheap. On the other end of the spectrum, high-end, absolutely stunning masterpieces from Barbados, also with no additives, while it's not mandatory for a franchise, mind you, but it's mandatory in Barbados. And this is a stunning 14 years old in ex-bourbon cask Nobiliary 4 square whiskies. This is absolutely crazy stuff. There's over 90, 94, I don't remember my rating, but it's like a 20, for me it's like a 20 years old bourbon with a twist of the rum brings. But crazy rum option I found recently, probably the best value ever in rum I came across, from Plantation, which is an indie bottling house owned by Alexandre Gabriel, which from Maison Ferrand, who does cognac as well. Plantation overproof artisanal rum, OFTD, 69% ABV. Supposed to be for mixing, but it is way more interesting than that. Neat. You gotta be cautious, but rums gathered from Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana. You see, it's probably colored, but it's insane. It's not sugared. Many rums are sugared. This one is not. Even from Plantation, there can be. Right, the rum. Very quickly, another spirit option people don't think often and overlook, but I love this category. It's Grappa, made from wine, and I forgot the term in English, and it's a German import. That's why it was cheap, but I cannot find the explanation here. Beautiful unaged Grappa, and it's monovitigno, so it means from only one category of grapes and not a blend. Usually the blends are a bit more casual and more so-so, or may, or just for the end of the regular Italian restaurant, something cheap as digestive. This is a high-end one, even if it's not super expensive if you find it online. This is numbered, and this is from Moscato variety of grape, and this is beautifully fruity and floral. I have other grappas, but it was just, we'll speak again about grappa on the channel later on. Now, I'm gonna give you to finish 3 gin options. Again, many people overlook gin. I don't. I love gin for a long time, and juniper, even in its north of France and Belgian variants, Genièvre in French, and Geneviève, I think in Belgium. Geneviève. Juniper is the name of the botanical. There is now a lot of French options on gin. You might not know that. I will only today present you one, while I have others. This is the Gévin and Floraison, and this is very particular because it's made after distilled after grape as well as the Grappa. But it doesn't taste like Grappa, it tastes like London dry gin with a French twist. Now I have 2 beautiful, for me the most beautiful so far I know, except maybe some limited editions of them, which are either hard to find and only now on auction, or very expensive, I think, for the Japanese one, or value wise a bit difficult to find and to get, but are beautiful. These are my 2 favorite gins so far. I will first present you one from Kyoto, the Kinobi dry gin. This is the version bottled at 45.7. There are others. There's one that highlights T, so Kino T-B. Kino T gin. This is super subtle. This mix is created by for a special Mori Bar Ginza, the creator of Mori Martini. It celebrates 50 years of a famous bartender in Japan. This is really a masterpiece. This is super subtle. This is not for me for mixing, but this really craft work. Another craft work, and something that for me is absolutely masterpiece, is when the container and the content are as beautiful the one as the other. This is a dry gin. I don't know if you can say dry gin, if a Isle of Harris gin infused with sugar kelps from the Outer Hebrides. Look at that glass bottle, it's so special. Even the cork, you can find where it is. Isle of Harris from Outer Hebrides. I don't have the map here. This is a distillery who makes gin, but is also planning to release in some years the, sorry for pronunciation, Gerach, something like that, which will be a single malt, Scottish single malt. Why the blue, turquoise blue? Because the sea there has that color. Believe me or not, I went online and saw the pictures. This is a maritime gin. Also, but I will speak about it in a specific video or live show about gin. You have other brands. You have Edinburgh, who does the sea breeze or sea something like that. A version which highlights also some botanicals and now I forgot. the name in English. It's always like that. Les algues. It will come back, maybe. So this is maritime. This is super subtle. This is for me like an unsmoked maritime Talisker in a way. An indie. So no big caramel and stuff. So very clean maritime spirit. This is a masterpiece. I love it really. And I have a smaller ceramic, locally made decanter that's a half bottle that you can buy, and also helps the community there. Yeah, well, I like the idea to finish with this masterpiece. This is, I believe the last ones are really awesome gifts. 1 hour. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped, and see you soon with a shorter video.